All right. We do have a quorum, so we will call this meeting of the Hartsville-Trousdale County Planning Commission to order. Gutter, if you, when you get your papers ready, if you'd call the roll.
Heather Beck, present. Betty Carmen, Mitch Gregory, present. John Kerr,
Here.
Rosalie Huntington,
Here.
David Nolan,
Here.
David Thomas, Cal Welch.
Here.
And here.
All right. Next on, well, first thing I would like to recognize one of our own here that's sitting here, that he and his teammates were inducted into the Western Kentucky Football Hall of Fame. Here, was it this last weekend?
2 weekends.
2 weekends ago. And so I'd like to congratulate Mr. Nollner on that accomplishment. And that is really good. That's a really good football team. That was the only year they beat my alma mater. It was his senior year. We got him the other 3 years he was there.
They told us a record that we were, our seniors, we were 35-7. And I sat back there when he said that, I was thinking, middle done for you.
That's right. But congratulations, David. That's a great honor. That was a great football team. Came within just a little bit of being national champion, so you can't argue with that. It's just great to see people from, we always think we're so small, we don't, do anything, but a lot of good, a lot of great people have come out of this little county. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes. Everyone has had these minutes and had a chance to look over them. Has anybody noticed any additions or corrections that need to be made? Have a motion by Mitch that we approve the minutes.
Second that.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. Minutes are approved as written. Again, there's no old business. There's no new business on the agenda tonight. This is our third month. I would have to say that things have definitely slowed down as far as new things.
Planning.
I'm sure that your office has given y'all time to catch up on other things probably, and is probably still trying to catch up. I'm sure you're still real busy is what I'm saying. Inspections and all of that, because there's, a whole lot going on. Does anybody have anything for the agenda? We have changes to the agenda on our agenda. Does anybody have anything? Yes, sir.
Question, do you think will we change the prices of the stuff that, we changed all the things that were higher? Do you think it slowed it down some?
Actually, I spoke with someone today that is probably going to be bringing something to the planning commission. So I think that has kind of curtailed people wanting to do a lot of rezoning and development, but there's still some discussion out there. You'll be seeing some things in a couple of months. Yeah.
It slowed it down.
Yes, it has.
And hopefully that's made people think. We've got a lot of things that's been approved that's never been acted upon. And so we could look at it as that our prices were so cheap that people, well, I'll just go ahead and get it approved and, while I can.
Yeah.
But I hope that they're taking this opportunity to think and plan more and do that type of thing, and not bringing in a project until they're actually ready to move on it. So hopefully that's one of the benefits that we'll get. And our prices weren't out of touch with the surrounding counties. So, it's not like they're going anywhere else unless they have a good project in other counties. Any other questions or anything like that before we move on? I was going to ask David this, Miss Rosalie, you may know, the status of some of the other things that we've sent to his committee, the building materials resolution. Has it gone before the county court yet?
That has not gone before the county commission yet. It has been put together in an ordinance and it's ready to be presented. I'm not sure the exact timeline on when that's going to be happening.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him that. I'm not even sure if it's through his committee yet. It may not be,
I don't think.
have
it is.
passed all the way through his
I would
committee.
think I believe it has, but he did mention it the other night in the work session that we put this and got it together, or we're about to bring it forward or something.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions about anything that we've been thinking about or talking about, or before we move on to our business tonight, discussion on those two items under discussion? Okay. Again, we have no old business, we have no new business, so we'll move right on to our discussion items. The first one is the site plan agreement. You want to find that in your packet. Ms. Rosalie, would you like to kind of give us an overview of this?
Well, when I was looking through some folders, I found the site development agreement, you know, as we have approved the site plan for the RV campground, the rock wall, it's like, okay, no, wait a second. So how do we monitor the development of phase one? How do we monitor the development of phase two? And I thought there's got to be something. Well, I found the site development agreement. And it does have listed in here the Metropolitan Hartsville / Trousdale County, Tennessee. So this was made for our county, but I haven't ever seen it in use. So I thought this would be excellent to put forward and have us look at this and see, okay, is this still a valid document for what we want to have going forward for our site plans that we approve? Do we want to maybe change something and have it go through legal and see if that will hold? So I wanted us to kind of look at that and kind of go through that.
I kind of agree with you. It's got, wherever it's listing the county, it listed as Metropolitan Hartsville, Trousdale County, Tennessee. And that type of thing. So I would think that it is passed and is a viable document. What do y'all think about that? And look over that, please, and see if you think that I think it's a good, I read it this afternoon, and I think it's something that we could definitely use in the office, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think too, those that bring forward site plans and have them approved, I think, you know, having to sign something kind of creates that, okay, I do need to follow through with what exactly I say that I'm doing.
Do we have any idea of when this was passed or?
I could not find anything else.
So
other
every
than
3 days, this developer, as far as your erosion and sediment control, should be supplying you with an inspection. So
One
every
more time,
72 hours, the developer, maintain all control measures, make inspections every 72 hours on erosion control to the fluid but not in facilities. The developer shall file a report with Metropolitan Gulf and Code after each inspection. So you'll be getting an inspection report every 72 hours, so 2.5 a week.
And I think that's probably a good thing, especially with some of the storms that we've been experiencing within this past year. An incredible amount of waterfall and, you know, issues with that type of thing. I think that's a good idea.
I like that it states that the erosion sediment control is their responsibility first and that they're to inspect it. I do worry about your office becoming overloaded once larger developments and more developments come into play, so. Just use a word, that's just a word of caution that I have. I might see if there's any So are you looking for us to use movement tonight or just begin the discussion for a future document?
Begin the discussion. Is this still a viable document? Is this the form that we want to use, or is it something that we want to alter in some form or fashion to make it more viable?
Is this a document that's already been passed? I guess that's what you were asking.
Well, I don't remember it, but that's not,
And if
you know.
it has, then it's just one that needs to get enforced. potentially.
right.
Correct, or
Right.
updated, I believe. is what
And
revised as needed, I think, too.
yeah, I think that's a, there's probably some updating that we need, because I think this is a viable document just from the way it's written. But I think it probably does need to be brought into the current mainstream of zoning and stuff, because there's really no telling how old this is.
Some metropolitan,
Well,
2000.
but I mean, the dates are 2000 dash something, so it's obviously.
Not to mention it's the old block. It's the old brain, it's the old block.
so you've had a chance to look at this. Are there some updates you already have in mind that you would like to see added to this already, or?
Well, I think going back to what Heather was mentioning about the enforcement and everything. I have been receiving like different property maintenance complaints from. Developers that are building houses and things where there is sediment, there's. Other type of rocks or just whatever that is going into the roads and not necessarily being picked up, so I think. This will really help with educating those that are. Developing things that, there is some structure.
That it
need to
is
be
their
aware,
responsibility.
and it's their responsibility, yes.
Is with a document of this nature, as a developer, do they have to read through this and sign off on this prior to it being enforced on their site?
I think it would be, and I think it would need to be notarized as well. Just as we do for owner builder affidavits where they're gonna be their own general contractor. I think they would need to do
So-
that.
What stands out to me is this every 72 hours, and an inspection is good. Is there a way that we can, ask for these monthly, or, are we gonna expect this person to come in your office every 72 hours? Or, that's a lot of trips to your office.
Well,
Okay.
actually, do they have to physically come to the office to file a report? I don't think so. I think if they would document that their sediment, the silt fences and everything were all in place, document it with a picture and send it to the work phone. That can then be, turned into a PDF and filed away in their file. We are doing a permitted
I was
software.
gonna say, in that permitting software, they're able to send that stuff in too.
Yes,
But do we have that permanent software yet, or is it?
we're in the setup portion. It takes about 60 days to get everything together and running and learning the various database, what we want to have done and everything,
So
so.
we're hoping to have that up and going full steam, but by November or in November.
I would say so, yes.
I think digital or email was adequate. I just wouldn't want to have to travel up there every 2 days and then having you a paper copy. It's gonna get them honest. I would think.
Right,
Yeah, because you don't even know if I'd be in the office.
I guess I'm thinking it was, like, essentially, we're just asking for them to put them together a paper trail. That, hey, we're doing this, and then if there is an issue, we can go back.
That's what I'm saying. When this was written, there wasn't any technology, like text a picture or, and all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm thinking that there's some updates that we probably need to add to this, that,
I think we were still using pagers back then, right?
somebody was, it wasn't me. I still hollering at people. Hey.
Now, what I found interesting under the general conditions, the right of entry. It says the county shall have a right in case of a letter of credit is called for non-compliance. We had that discussion about other developments that didn't necessarily follow through on what was approved. what type of consequences are attached to that. And I think this kind of gives some consequences to maybe things not necessarily being done as agreed upon.
We have, it's each violation shall subject to a fine, not exceed, which is set forth by state law. Is that something we have wrote up somewhere, or is that something that we would have to?
We'd have to research
Develop.
right now. Well, if it's according to state law, then there should be something in state law that we can pull from. And I can ask GNRC if they could provide us a copy of that.
Right. This- Has GNRC seen this?
I have forwarded it on to them, but I have not received, any comments back.
And we sent it to the lawyer.
He was also copied on it as well.
Well, I would like to see us do any updates or get GNRC before but really before he looks at it, because
Yeah.
he'd be looking at something that's probably real old, and I mean, I think that's money wasted at this point for him to have it. I think once we have it the way we want it, then send it to him. I'd be very interested in what GNRC, what kind of comments they had
Right.
and potential upgrades that they could offer.
Because we did have it in our minutes that we talked about that last month, that they were gonna be looking for something and give us some information about site
Right.
plan agreements or, subdivision development. And lo and behold, I found this.
You think, Rick Gregory remembers when this was?
That's a good question. I can. We can bring
It's
that up at
possible.
the code and zoning
He
meeting.
would be the closest one to being able to remember it. But again, I mean, we're looking at updating it
Yeah.
and moving it on anyway. I think
But it would be good to know.
some of the things I think that's come up that, like Mitch was talking about with the 72 hours, they have to come in and do that. I think we could add some verbiage to that about how technology can be used to to upgrade their reporting system of this and stuff. And that in the future, the new software could be
Right.
used to, I don't remember the name of it, but
I
that
work-
system could be, what is it?
I work,
Is this a state thing?
no.
Okay,
it's
that's
a
good. I wouldn't.
State,
I think
yeah, no,
state would.
it's a state-owned company.
No. Okay. Other suggestions? Like I said, I think Mitch had a great one there with the
Mhm.
72 hours and stuff. And we could get GNRC maybe to take what he's talked about and update that with current usage and stuff.
Sure. And how we want it to integrate into iWork, because if they're gonna have a site development, they're gonna have a building permit.
Right.
And that's gonna be in there.
And I guess come back with what our fee charges too, and so we gotta figure out. What we charge by state law and the fines,
Mhm.
and then come up with, a fine structure, what's gonna be charged per violation,
Right.
and maybe a person's warning, and then after that, you charge. And, violation is.
Anybody else have any other suggestions? I think the best thing for us to do is take what suggestions we get here tonight and let Rosalie take it back and send this and those suggestions to GNRC and for them to update this for us, and then maybe have it ready for next month, and we can look at it and if we approve it, then we could send it to give it to the mayor and the attorney for them to look at. So any other? And you don't have to do that tonight. If you think of something later, when you have more time to look at this, you can just email Ms. Rosalie and she can add that to the list. Okay. Next is the subdivision development agreement. And this looks kind of like another document that has been around a while. Ms. Rosalie, would you give us an overview of this one, please?
Well,
Or is this
very
current?
similar to the site development plan. It goes and talks about, remember when we were talking about a subdivision, do we want to require, like RV campground, do we want to require him to have a surety bond and things of that nature? This kind of outlines the steps of what we could, as a planning commission, say, okay, this is what you should be willing to do.
It's already been approved as well, kind of like Cal from the last year.
I found it in the same folder with the site development agreement. So as far as any documentation, as in when this was ever presented and accepted, I don't have that information yet.
It could have been thought up. GNRC worked on it and it never presented to us or the county commission to pass or anything.
But if you notice, it does have like on the back page where there are places for signatures, and it even has the county attorney and the mayor and designee. For them to sign off on this. So.
Great starts instead of empty slates, so.
Exactly. But as far as any other information, it's definitely gonna take a deep dive into all the information here.
And I actually would think that Rick would be a good source of information for you on this. He could probably tell you whether or not our neighboring counties have documents like this they use and stuff. And if so, then that would tell us that our developers are used to dealing with this type of thing. Again, I would suggest that we take a chance, take time to read this. Any suggestions that you have, email Ms. Rosalie. Let GNRC look at this and because this is probably pretty old. It's possible that it really needs some more current updating to it than we would know. And why don't we say that let's give ourselves, what's today? Today's Monday. Let's give ourselves till next Monday to email Miss Rosalie any suggestions and stuff, and then she could then, if she don't get anything by next Monday, then she knows she's free then to go ahead and send it into GNRC with any suggestions that she has to add to it and that type of thing. And that would give her time to talk with Rick and see if there's some, he may know some things that, he may say, well, there's a great one here in such and such county that you might want to look at and stuff. And is that okay with everybody? We take a week to look at it and offer our suggestions, and then next Monday, she's free then to send it on. Everybody all right with that? Okay. I'm not sure everybody was here when I was asking this. You probably were, but I don't remember. I had asked her about, y'all remember the building materials resolution that we sent and stuff? Ms. Rosalie says that has not gone to the county commission yet. We're not sure if it's been passed by the what's it called? The Codes and Zoning Committee of the County Court, chaired by David Thomas. But we had given David the authority to take that to the commission, you know, when he thought that the time was right. You know, we wanted to get through budget and other things like that.
I know that is on the agenda for this Thursday evening, so let's look at that.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Anybody got any questions or anything about anything we've done so far, discussion? If not, we'll move into our report from Ms. Rosalie.
Well, we've already kind of touched on the iWorks permitting software. Been developing the different fields in the database, what type of permits we want to have. For instance, we don't have a specific swimming pool permit that would actually detail everything out. Because swimming pools are a little bit different. If it's an in-ground pool, they have to have a 4-foot fence. Our ordinance does say 3-foot fence, but codes say that it needs to be a 4-foot fence. So looking at all the different permits, what the database will accommodate, and just the various letters that will be settling out and everything, and updating the codes enforcements, which moving into the building office update, there has been a increase in the amount of building permits, but also property maintenance complaints as well. So a lot of different things, you know, a lot of different people are moving into the county and maybe not aware of various things. So
Just curious, what kind of complaints, what's your normal complaint, what's your non-complaints? Yard, I guess, grass.
I would think mowing the grass was a big one.
actually, there is a lot of, there is that, it's kind of 50-50, either mowing the grass and trash and junk in the yards versus people living in campers out on property that don't have building permits and they don't have water or electricity. So there's a big concern. And it's not just one complaint, it's multiple complaints of this, so.
And anybody that's watching tonight, so that is illegal. You should report that. If you know of someone that has pulled a camper on and is doing that, a lot of times we have people that just sneak into the county and try to do that. They think we're so small, we're not going to pay attention or anything. But please report that kind of stuff. That is illegal. It has been illegal here for forever. And we need to get that corrected. It's unsanitary. There's a lot of problems with that.
Yeah, and the state of Tennessee considers campers and RVs ready removables, which means, you know, obviously that they can move from place to place. And you're not allowed to live in them on a permanent basis because it's really not safe, as we can attest, you know, with the various tornadoes and things of that nature. It's just not safe. It needs to be a permanent structure that you live in for an extended period of time. So.
That's one of my concerns with the one we approved down at 231, that some people were going to try to. That's one of the main reasons I voted against that night, was that, and I just had major concerns about a lot of that. But and our other campground did have that going on for a long time down at the boat dock. Because I worked with some people at the prison that were doing that. So I know firsthand they were doing it. Hopefully that's not still going on. Did that answer, whose question was that?
But there has been, like I said, an increase in the number of building permits. The various subdivisions that we had approved within the past year or so. A lot of contractors have now been moving forward and pulling building permits. The Bass Road, the Templo Road, a lot of movement, a lot of traction. Western Avenue as well.
I think there's three or four that's going up there. I know of three.
And 2 more permits were just pulled for that.
Have they
So
sold any of those that you know of? Or-
there's contracts, yes,
No, that's good.
yes.
They're
There's
moving
supposed to be,
on.
what, 6 of them?
I think that's right.
On Western, yes. And then you have 16 over there on Bass Road. And 8 between Templo and Ross. Now I have 30 permits.
What's the status with Dollar Tree? I know they went before the BZA and was approved there
Mhm.
and stuff, so I'm assuming they're just getting ready to get started now. Or is there any other hurdles they have to go through?
They were waiting on a 911 address. And then also I believe they're gonna be coming forward with a sign variance. I'm going before the BZA with sign variance. But other than that,
They like them giant signs. They do.
that's part of their marketing,
Sure.
which we talked about with the building
Mhm.
designs and
We did.
everything, that they have their packages.
Anybody else got any questions about? I get asked about Dollar Tree. That's why I have some friends that are ready to shop. Anybody else have any questions about anything going on or not going on or?
Mention the software, and what is your expectation to, for the timing is when that will actually be up and usable?
We were discussing November. Mhm. We have, if you were to come into the office, you'll see stacks and stacks of manila folders with permits in them. And those permits are in a spreadsheet, and so trying to put all of that into a database is going to be, a process. But actually, also deciding, okay, what information needs to be in that database? How do we want that to look? Our permitting numbering is going to change just because of the nature of the database and what the field is. So that's going to be different, but it's a great opportunity right now to do a level set. Okay, what is the best practice? I mean, we've been doing it the same way for a long period of time, but is that the best way? Is all the information that we capture, is it necessary, or is there other information that we need to capture? So it's a great opportunity to get things going. And again, it's iWork, and they have a website. Just attended, they did a week-long conference online, and they had like an hour-long training session, webinar on various, not only do they do permitting, but they also do planning, they do code enforcement, various type of public works. They have all different type of modules that you can add to their shopping cart, and implement in your county, so.
Like you're talking about those manila, you're able to scan all that in or something? It doesn't have to be.
Sure.
Okay.
But somebody has to sit there.
I understand. That's still better than.
Yes, it is.
Is the intent to digitalize all of that, or is there, I assume it's gonna be historical records at some point?
It's going to be historical records, and that's something too that I've been asking about. Okay, now how do we update, or upload? Because some of the building plans that we have for various houses, they would bring in large architectural drawings, and we don't have the means to digitize that. So how do we go about that? Do we just say, okay, see Appendix A, or something like that? So that's something that we need to look at doing.
This be online based, like, say I want to get a building permit. Will I be going to Carrollton County's website, filling it out, and it goes to you?
It'll be a link.
Back, but I still have to come in to.
You will still need to come into the office, especially, say, if you wanted to be like your own general contractor, you would need to get a notarized affidavit. And also to pay. for your building
but they
permit.
could do the paperwork and stuff.
Absolutely,
by
it'll
hire.
be more user friendly, shall we say.
That's good.
And so if you guys have any suggestions or anything that you would like to see happen with building permits, those of you that have experience with that, very open to suggestions.
I personally think someone like you and people that deal with them every day, y'all are the best experts to know what changes, updates need to be made. And I would say it's fine to do that while we're doing this.
Mhm.
We should take advantage of this time and go ahead and do it. Y'all agree with that? Someone that deals with it every day knows what, needs to be done, in my opinion. Only other question I have, I think some might have is this our last meeting here, or do we have any, are we still just? I didn't know about the situation with the courthouse, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I know that there has been a walkthrough with a state inspector and a state electrical inspector, and they've made a list of various things, so I'm not really sure the timeline.
Oh, yeah, you go through a walkthrough, that's one of the things you always do in the project, is have a walkthrough to see what needs to be updated. Hopefully it was the final walkthrough, but I would say that the county commission would probably be the first entity to meet back in there. And so when we hear they're back in there, then we would know our next meeting would be in there.
Last meeting we did and heard anything about it is they were having trouble with the cooler, Freon or something. It wouldn't get the moisture out, they had to have to put more in, so. That was the last I heard.
I know the inspectors are compiling a report and will turn it into the mayor. under review.
Probably next.
I bet your email will tell us.
Anybody else have anything to come before the planning commission this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Anybody want to second that?
Second that.
We are adjourned. Thank y'all for coming.